So, dear LinkedIners, as you know, recently we have started a series of webinars called Expert Talks, during which we host niche marketing specialists, especially in digital marketing. And we talk about different topics from neuromarketing to content management, content marketing, and eventually, of course, performance marketing. So, today's host is Lusine, B2B Performance Marketing Consultant, who has worked with various companies all over the world, and she's traveling more than you can imagine. So, welcome, Lusine. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Susanna, for the invitation, and happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday. I hope everyone has calmed down and is preparing for their weekend like we do, although we're now working, the both of us, but still we'll make it chill and make sure we add enough of humor so that every one of you gets prepared for the weekend. So please introduce yourself, Lusine.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Susanna, I'm like B2B performance marketing specialist. Have been dedicating, I would say, past 6 years of my career into growing and developing my knowledge when it comes to B2B, working closely with SaaS companies, and I have agency background, which means I had the privilege to work with various companies and learn and experiment and test. And yeah, that's something I'm also generally interested in. I found B2B marketing complex and fascinating at the same time. And yeah, I'm excited to join the discussion with you today and yeah, share with my knowledge and also learn from the audience as well.
Well, you have a very interesting journey. I have looked through your journey myself, and I was just fascinated on how certain you are in the niche you have chosen, and how dedicated you have been to performance marketing. And of course, I have looked through by the way, the registered people among the people who have registered for our webinar, and they have different backgrounds. I must say, so to prepare you, in terms of how you respond to my questions. Further on, you should know that there are people who are already specialized in marketing. They know a lot about marketing. There are also people from other industries and sectors who are just, to learn from you on what it is for performance marketing. So if you don't mind, please explain. Let's start from the very beginning. Please explain to everyone on what is performance marketing.
Well, in performance marketing, especially with B2B performance marketing, is just trying to grow businesses basically online, like digitally. And thankfully, we do have different platforms which enable us to reach our customers and users online. And as a B2B performance marketer, you are basically trying to look into it holistically, putting together a strategy, how you can help the businesses to find the right audience, how can you create tailored content and communication, reach out to these users, and yeah, put your product in front of the relevant audiences. And yeah, at the end of the day, you are trying to sell your product, but already like performance, it's happening, I would say, on digitally, on, I would say, online. So.
And what is the difference between a B2C performance marketing and B2B?
Well, I would say it's just generally the funnels. And for example, yeah, when we think of B2B, like we speak about the volume, like in terms of like the traffic. We speak also the sales cycles. Usually, like the B2B, it's longer, while with the B2C, it's shorter. It also, when you're thinking about your strategy with the B2B, it's more about logic, it's more about education, it's more about the features and more details and the value you are, I would say, you need to focus on that you are communicating, while with B2C it might be more empathy, it might be engagement, it might be based the communication on emotions. So I would say, yeah, that's kind of
totally agree with you. All the points you have mentioned. Could you please also tell the audience of why we chose to to talk specifically about SaaS products, SaaS companies when discussing B2B performance marketing, because it's very huge. Like B2B performance marketing is very huge topic, and it would be of less value if we delivered it generally and not as laser focused. So please elaborate on that.
Yeah, basically like a B2B performance marketing, as you mentioned, is broad, it's generic. If we would like deep dive into each aspect of it, it would take more than 1 hour. And I would say SaaS, it's also as a B2B performance marketer, you will often also see that the demand, I would say, for let's say SaaS companies, software startups, I would say is really high. And I would say also SaaS companies are in general, it just seems that the trends are more keen on, investing into performance marketing, and I would say that's also my like the expertise. I used to work with SaaS companies, and I thought I will share more value if we kind of also focus on SaaS, I would say.
Yeah, for those who don't know what is SaaS, please explain.
Software as solution, yeah.
Yes. So in fact, the next topic I would like to discuss with you is, well, I have shared the agenda with you, of course, you know it, but recently we have gone through a very huge thing, all of us together. It's pandemic, COVID, and could you please share us what changed after the pandemic?
Yeah, the pandemic actually changed the way the companies looked into their marketing in general, yes, especially like B2B companies. If in the past, for example, they were allocating significant budget on marketing activities such as events and looking into events as face-to-face events as a great opportunity for lead generation. I would say all of a sudden, due to the lockdown, I would say these events were impossible. Then the question was, how can we reach to our audience? And the question was online. So I would say the C-level executives, it's when they had to turn towards marketers and ask actually like what can be done right now. And what the pandemic changed is like more and more B2B businesses considered performance marketing, considered moving online and looking into exploring possibilities, how they could how to have the inbound market, strengthen the inbound marketing, and how to reach the customers and how to modify, I would say, the approach and strategy. So that's kind of the, like, in a way that the old ways transformed and like the new era of it, that is like more and more companies are advertising, and yeah, as also consequence, the noise increased. I would say you will see ads kind of saturated the platforms with more ads than ever, I would say, than it was before the pandemic.
Well, totally agree, actually. The competitiveness of, the simplest industries that, it was really easy to surf through those industries once. Now they have become so crowded that one has to integrate too many tools, too many platforms, and different methods of outreaching in order to have any tangible results. Could you please tell us whether the pandemic itself made marketers' jobs like yours easier or more difficult?
One thing is for sure, we are more on demand right now, high demand, I would say. That's helped. I would say that in a way helped us, I would say, to increase our value. Because, like, it was like, okay, we want to do marketing, we want to do performance marketing, and we need B2B, or even I would say even B2C. I would say even I've seen not necessarily B2B brands, but like more and more like the need of performance marketer was there. So I would say that creates opportunities for us. So it's kind of a good for the marketers out there. And I wouldn't say that it's more difficult, but challenging in a positive way. I would say as you had to sometimes even set the strategies for the companies that never done online any campaigns from scratch, and tests and experiments. I would say it's exciting. I would say more challenging, exciting rather than difficult. So for the marketers, it's kind of has been great, I would say.
Yeah. Well, as you touched the topic of, have like doing extensive performance marketing for businesses who have never done anything before. From my experience, I would add that on a long term, it doesn't work if the brand doesn't get built enough, separately on online platforms, their website, their landing pages, their content marketing, blogs, and integrating SEO in their whole strategy. So B2B is a very challenging and a very long road, and one has to invest all they can, into the whole marketing strategy. So my next topic would be, since we are in 2022 talking with you, it would be very reasonable to ask this question. Are there any trends that one has to apply in this year, and trends that are not applicable anymore?
That's a good question. I would say in the past, B2B was known to be boring. I would say that's not the thing anymore. It's really interesting what happened, because more and more companies start pushing their ads online, and then the challenge of the advertiser was, okay, how can I stand out? There's lots of noise happening. What can be done differently? And I think there has been the creativity came in, and finally, because I would say when you see the evolution of the communication before and after, I would say after COVID has been more vivid, that it's more interactive. I would say the ads, it's not boring as used to be. And as well as the content plays a huge role. I would say in the past that it might have been neglected, but right now it's just really essential part of B2B marketing. So when you communicate the landing page experience, the ads, and this overall, I would say how they communicate to the target audience has completely changed, and it's also creative right now, and it requires creativity and so I would say that's kind of a trend, and I'm really happy that B2B cannot be associated with boring anymore when it comes to communication.
Well, couldn't agree more. I have noticed so creative content creation among B2B businesses that I'm astonished. They have incorporated different methods of content, like animated videos, 2D, 3D. There are so many explanatory content of every single feature that they offer, every single technique, whether it's with a blog article, whether it's with interactive social media posts, giveaways, I don't know, whatever stuff they use in terms of promoting. It's really astonishing. I barely remember before COVID how it was, because time has passed, but I remember that it was boring. It was really hard to provide services, marketing services to B2B companies, because it was hard to generate ideas, really, even though you were to do enough of research, enough of checking out competitors. It was really hard to get valuable stuff. Can you hear me? It seems my internet got stuck.
It's working fine.
Oh, I'm back. I'm sorry. I'm back. This whole thing, the funny thing is that before joining the live, I tried to print a document with my printer, and it didn't work. As soon as the Wi-Fi got turned off and I came back, me and the printer simultaneously got working. Now it's printing the documents that it had to print like an hour ago.
I thought you just decided to leave me alone and call it a day.
No, no, it's not happening. Sorry. So I'm back. As I was saying, we were talking about B2B being boring before COVID hit. So yeah, I totally remember those times. And at the end of the day, we marketers are left alone with our clients and employers, and we have to explain why this and that is happening. And it was really hard, I have to say, uh, for providing services to B2B companies and being creative, staying consistent, and adding and providing new stuff every single time. There was so much repetition of content, of especially content marketing. Now it's sort of not happening. Every single time I find myself struggling, there is only like 30 minutes needed to do some research, and voila, you have enough of content to go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. Also, the communication style. I would say in the past it was a little bit more tense because you were thinking, oh, I'm communicating to B2Bs, these are the decision makers. And usually you were very careful the way you were communicating. I would say very heavily designed, let's say, banners and I would say content. While right now you will see there are more fun elements involved. So because B2B can be also fun. So it's just more casual communication, not being afraid to use, let's say, humor or use, I don't know, some fun elements into your communication. I think that will interact. And as well as you will see sometimes VP marketing is just taking the video and just talking about the product and just the dogs running in the background. So it's just that it works, it's at the end of the day, it's about the storytelling and it's like less, I would say, manufactured and packaged, and it just gives a little bit more freedom when it comes to creativity. So definitely that's something that I would say I've seen it developing and I'm quite happy about that.
Yeah, me too, actually. And because everything is just changing and evolving so fast, if you just invest too much time and energy on a very, simple or a specific task, as soon as you're finished, it's gone. The trend of it is gone. The whole reason why you have started doing it in the first place has gone. So it's more also about quantity, let's agree with that, than quality. So there was a lot of, I would say, time and energy being invested in presentation, in banners, in PowerPoint presentations, in, I don't know, portfolios. Now it's all about quantity.
Yeah, exactly. Frequency. That's what I keep telling also to the clients, trying to get the best case study, which is 20 pages. Yes, it's excellent because it shows the cooperation with the brand that has a strong reputation in the market. It's excellent. But at the same time, especially when you think from the paid perspective, really you need to make sure that can be short infographics, can be a checklist, can be a template, anything of a value, but doesn't need to be overly engineered, I would say. So like frequency, it really matters. It's also like because of a very simple fact, because you have an audience and different content resonates with them. Like, for example, content A might be interesting for a certain group, content B. So that's why the frequency also helps you learn more about your audience and what kind of content is interesting, and just like keep moving. So yeah, I totally agree with you. It's just like keep pushing more rather less than just, I would say, progress over perfection kind of logic here.
That's true. That's very true. And in fact, the same works for not only for B2B performance marketing, but anywhere else. As you never know where you'll find your target audience and the one who will eventually convert. So it's more about trying a lot and until it clicks. So. Now let's move on to ABM. So we have had a discussion about this before even joining the webinar, and you have mentioned that ABM is practically the same as B2B performance marketing. Please elaborate on that.
Yeah, I think ABM is something that it turned into a buzzword. I would say more and more B2B blogs, I would say, keep pushing the term ABM, ABM. And when you think of it, ABM is account-based marketing, and technically it's B2B marketing. But I would say uh, the difference of ABM is that basically you are focusing your marketing efforts to a certain target accounts. So I would say you already, let's say, have your top 200 or 300 list of companies that you would like to focus and create all your marketing communication around these companies to make it tailored to those companies and their needs, and basically just try to get as much engagement as possible through that account. So traditionally, this is not something new, and I'm pretty sure like many companies or marketers have been using this tactic, but at the same time we have been using also, let's say, these built-in targeting options, what LinkedIn offers, let's say title, profile targeting, interest, and so on, or for example what Facebook was offering, interest and behavior based. With account-based marketing, it's about precision, and I would say the greatest value that account-based marketing is bringing is efficiency, because there is not a huge gap between leads generated and leads marketing qualified. So because you already know these are the companies that you would like to win over. So that kind of optimizes your budget, optimizes your I would say efforts, and it also creates a huge alignment with the sales, because in marketing the marketers should be very kind of in touch and communication with sales, and I think the ABM is the great possible opportunity that finally brings, I would say, these two together. So it's not kind of the cooperation should be, I would say, stronger, and the results are much better. Yeah, I would say that's the key difference. You target specific accounts rather just than kind of spray and pray.
Yeah, because like even in the lead generation process, there is so much, I would say, resources being used to have a list of finalists. So we are setting it aside. Of course, there is still expenses to have needed to be overseen, to do ABM, to have this final list of contacts. But still, could you compare the expenditure of lead generation, let's say through Facebook ads, and doing account-based marketing, let's say through Sales Navigator on LinkedIn?
When you look into account-based marketing, it's just very holistic. So just to give you an example, let's say as a marketer, you would upload the list to LinkedIn. Because you have the possibility there, just you have 200-300 key accounts. You would be uploading these accounts to LinkedIn, and also at the same time you would be thinking of the content tailored to these accounts. You might even divide them into groups, I would say, based on the company size, based on the industry. So the segmentation would be done. You create a communication tailored to those companies, and then you upload. But at the same time, what's happening is with ABM, you are looking for engagement. And while you are in touch with the sales, the logic is as such. For example, you all know, let's say, a certain amount of companies have seen your ads, have downloaded the white paper. So there has been some engagement, or spent some time non-bouncers on your website. And then you are in touch with the sales team, like there is a communication. So these companies have seen some engagement. So when they are reaching out to those accounts, they already have some information that, okay, these companies or these profiles have already engaged in which content they have seen. So I would say it's more collaborative. They don't exclude, it's mutually not exclusive. So it doesn't mean if I'm targeting those accounts on LinkedIn, for example, the sales should kind of continue nurturing them, reaching out through Sales Navigator, maybe email cascades, email communication goes to them, and then they reach out. So it's very kind of collaborative, I would say. That's kind of the logic, I would say, of the ABM. Like the traditional method was, marketers were doing their own job. Let's say my job is just to generate leads, and then the sales team had their own targets. There was like inbound and outbound were really like separated, so they were using, let's say, their own tactics, let's say Sales Navigator to reach out to them, or a certain list that they were sending emails out. With the ABM, you are like one team. You all work on the same accounts, but it's about aligning like the whole strategy together. Like this goes out on LinkedIn. This is what the sales team does in terms of like next steps. So it's just everyone is collaborating, I would say. And then end goal is not looking into, okay, what performance marketing generated in terms of results, but just looking into it, okay, these were like our top 300 accounts, let's say for Q3, and how far we were able to push those accounts in the funnel, like where do they stand, like what is the stage, I would say, in the funnel. So I think that's kind of probably the essentials also when it comes to ABM and non-ABM.
And who creates the sales funnel? Who designs it?
I would say it's, again, very collaborative, like how internally, like in the company, you usually, that's something you are discussing, I would say, what happens, like you just get, let's see the engagement, what's then the second step, what's the third step, and it's really like, I would say, marketing and the sales together need to collaborate on it. So just to, so that both sides have, I would say, clarity.
And do you recommend having different sales funnels for per product, per service, for the whole spectrum of different services, or what? What is your preferred style?
I think you should do some adjustments, I would say, in the funnel because you might be working with different accounts. You might just be like complete upper funnel. So these are users probably that they might have never interacted with your kind of product. So I would then the funnel might be longer. The nurturing process might be longer. First, you try them to get on your page, and then you might try to give them some gated content, convert in the leads, and then try to push them into demos, and then like the sales takes and nurtures them to see if there is a potential, like there's possibility to create the opportunity and close the deal. While you might have also, for example, in ABM, it's completely normal also practice. For example, when you have already in your CRM, let's say MQLs, marketing qualified leads that have been stuck in the funnel, and they are not like, let's say the team is not able to move them any further. Let's say you have the list of these companies that had already some interaction. Let's say they downloaded, took part in a webinar, podcast, event, but that's where they stand. They haven't gone any further. They didn't get any product demo or trial. So in this case, I would say the funnel and the strategy is different. And they might also, for example, SQLs or people who have seen the demo or used the trial, but again, they need a little bit of more pushing. So then I would say there should be a different approach, obviously. And also in terms of like a communication. If it's completely upper funnel, you are trying also to get engagement and also collect some personal information so that you can nurture it further. But for example, if you have already their contacts, but you just want to get more engagement, trigger their interest, you might just push like webinars or premium content, but non-gated, because you don't really care of getting their emails again, but you just want just to remind them about the brand and product. So yeah, absolutely yes to your question. It will depend actually, I would say, where like the type of the accounts that you are working with and where they stay, I would say, in the funnel. So
okay, thanks for answering to my question. And the next one would be what do you consider are the best platforms to execute performance strategies for B2B? Let's go one by one. I don't want to, it was too general. Sorry for that. So let's start with Google Ads.
Google Ads.
Yes.
Well, Google is capturing the existing intent. It's excellent. It's actually one of my favorite platforms. I would say my absolute favorite, I would say, tool is a performance marketer. Not always can be relevant for B2B because you heavily rely on search volume and search terms. But some products don't have really enough, I would say, search volume. But it's essential. So even if there is only a few keywords that are relevant, for example, just to have always the presence on Google, because these are already users that they know what they want and they are just actively searching. So yes, if there is a search volume, definitely I would say it's capturing already high intent. So that's kind of the advantage of Google. And yeah, you have display for remarketing, and you have also YouTube for like video ads for mainly brand awareness and engagement, I would say. But search stays the most relevant in terms of capturing, I would say, the leads and like with high intent.
Well, there are, of course, as you mentioned, it depends on the industry and the competitiveness. There can be keywords that can be worth a couple of dollars, up to a couple of hundreds, depending on the keyword. So in the end, it really depends on how well you have done your research. Maybe you're using the keywords that your competitor just has no idea that it is possible to use those keywords, and you can go ahead. I totally agree with SEO. So Google is the best way of doing, producing consistently really valuable and knowledgeable content, and get traffic to your website just for free, organically, every single month. So week after week, month after month, you can have a constant flow of potential clients and customers who can just check your product, check your services, and consider you for purchase. So the next one, sorry,
I was mostly talking about the paid, but absolutely, yeah. When it comes to like organic, also ranking.
Yeah,
and
both.
having,
Of course, paid as well. So the first one I've mentioned the paid one in terms of keywords, but as you said, it really depends on the business. There are definitely situations when it's not relevant. The next one I would like to talk with you about is Facebook ads. So I have heard so many negative comments about Facebook ads in terms of B2B performance marketing. They're hesitant to use it overall. So in the end, there is one argument that we have to discuss today. Do C-level executives and decision makers check out Facebook? Are they at all there? And can you actually reach them out on Facebook using interest and behavior features?
Yeah, it's very tricky with Facebook. I think there are some companies, and also my experience is that it works. I think it just depends on the product and whom you are reaching. But what's really interesting with B2B, and which makes also Facebook also a channel to give it a try, because there are different decision makers, I would say, in the process. Not one. So there is the C-level executive, as you mentioned, the one who will take the decision to purchase. But there is also, let's say, the direct user of the software that has. You can also try to market. So I think there are different personas within the same company that impact, I would say, at the end. The final decision is based not only on one person, but there are like several decision makers involved. So if you cannot probably reach the C-level executive, the chances are higher that there are also other personas in the company that are relevant that you could technically reach to, and person will be acting as an influencer, let's say, to the decision maker who will, let's say, give the final approval. I would say what's difficult for B2B marketers on Facebook is, targeting, as you said, right? If you are lucky to be able to find your audience, I would say then great. But otherwise, it's pretty challenging, especially with the recent changes with Apple and Meta and having this
it's such a
fix it completely. I would say it's kind of very challenging for the marketers to find an audience. I would say to start with Facebook. But there are some kind of tricks which could be applied, I would say, to make use out of the platform. For example, what works very well, lookalikes. Let's say if you have the customer list and the higher the quality of the seat list is, then you can build lookalikes, as well as for example, remarketing could be also an option if you are going for Facebook. And there's also a really interesting trend that Instagram keeps working better than Facebook.
That's true.
So that's something that we notice with many clients. So still challenging in terms of targeting. You can try as many conversion signals you can send back to Facebook for the algorithm optimize, let's say from your CRM, or just assign some values, give the platform more clues so that it might start optimizing over time towards higher quality traffic, or just incorporate, just have lookalikes and just use remarketing, I would say, and always compare Facebook versus Instagram because the performance heavily is different between these two platforms with some products. And definitely give it a try, I would say. Just try to make it work, and just ask the question, even outside of the business, if this persona would be really spending time hanging out on Facebook or not. If the answer is yes, then just looking for ways to reach out to these users, I would say it's worth the try.
Well, about Facebook ads, I would like to mention some points as well. So our audience should know that it's 10 times cheaper than LinkedIn ads, and even though it's like questionable whether it's a good B2B performance marketing tool or not, it's definitely a good B2C performance marketing tool. And if anyone who is joining us has a B2C business or is working for a B2C company, you should take this away with you, this information. The next one, I totally agree. It's Facebook's algorithm changes, especially considered with iOS update. Has made targeting very challenging, and even like there was time, I would say it was somewhere like 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, that targeting was so laser focused on Facebook. It was working amazingly. There were so many targeting features available that they are not available anymore. Now with organic reach on Facebook decreasing continuously, we have come to a point when businesses just don't want always testing period. It's so much A/B testing, and so much resources just go on the testing that even B2C companies, I have to admit, and I'm afraid to mention that they just don't want to spend all that time and energy and resources on Facebook ads anymore. Because there's also a question arising here, and I would like your comment here as well, whether how to document all these findings, like all these A/B testings, okay, it's done, but how to accumulate all that knowledge and information somewhere to make conclusions out of it.
A/B testing. That's what we do all the time. You're absolutely right. A/B test of creatives, audience, A/B test of landing pages and content. But I would say in a way it's also essential so that you make educated decision based on the test outcomes. I would say this is all about performance marketing. I personally use simple templates. It's an Excel sheet where there is idea backlog and like just prioritization actually based on the budget, resources. So you throw in with the team the ideas, and then there's a very simple formula that calculate, let's say, the output, input, and the impact it might have. And basically, you just go live with the test, and just put some high-level numbers documenting actually how the test results were, and just planning on the next steps. So it's nothing complex, just keeping, I would say, a simple spreadsheet um, with just a brief description of the tests. Maybe you can have, let's say, sections for the landing page test, for the creative, and for the content, and probably, let's say, whatever you are measuring, I would say, just to put the numbers like what the outcome was, and then take the learnings from that. So that's personally my approach. I don't know if someone has I would say better. There might be some tools as well. I'm pretty sure for, but so far the simple spreadsheet just works fine. I would say for me personally.
Sometimes the most genius thing is, coming up with the simplest, method, because, like, even in our company, we have witnessed it ourselves when we're trying to do the best of everything, incorporating as many tools as possible, etc., etc. And in the end, you end up not using like 90% of it, and it actually adds more layers in decision making and more layers in and in extending the whole work to be done, and you end up losing time and for nothing. So I totally agree with you. The Excel sheet is the best thing one can use in not only documenting stuff, results, but also comparing. So no difficult tools needed here. The next thing I would like to discuss with you is LinkedIn ads. Let's first talk about LinkedIn Messenger ads, and then we'll talk about Sales Navigator.
Yeah, LinkedIn, I would say, is the platform which is something that B2B marketers are basically
Resigning.
So that's kind of, I would say, something sent from the heaven sort of situation, I would say, because of the targeting. It just makes our lives so much easier, I would say, when it comes to targeting and like planning. I would say the strategy, it's easy to understand the audience size you're working with, what you could expect. You have a visibility through the demographics report on like what are the companies you are working with. ABM, as I mentioned, you can upload the list and so forth. So, like work with companies. It has different, I would say, platforms like this, emails or messenger ads is something which is probably also works very well, especially with ABM, because you can reach out, I would say, to this individuals, I would say. Recently, there's been some restrictions, so I would say in European Union, I think it's not available anymore. So I think at the ads we had, just a quick, it stopped for the moment. So just like US, UK, for example, or APAC, like these regions, it still works. Yeah, I would say my experiences, it works very well. For example, when you are promoting webinar registrations, or that you are giving away a content, or there is some online event registration, I would say more of that kind of content rather than heavily pushing, I would say, product demo or trial. Let's say it's kind of difficult to convert these users, and it's also key to have a really well defined communication per persona, so that it definitely feels real because it's instantly visible that it's ad. So many users might be simply ignoring it, I would say. So,
Yeah, that's true. So to bring our discussion to a more tangible space, let's bring an example and kind of build a small strategy, B2B performance marketing strategy right here. So let's don't go too far. Let's take our agency as an example, not to insult anyone outside. So let's say we are doing animation video creation, for example. That's one of our services that we are doing. We are specifically preparing 2D animations for IT companies, tech companies, and we have a huge portfolio already prepared and ready for health sector. So all the different startups or different companies who are preparing, let's say, tools and techniques for healthcare sector, we have already done a lot of 2D animations for them. So
okay.
to move forward, we would like to attract more clients and provide them services. If in this sector, then it's excellent. If not too far from this, it's also acceptable. Where to start from?
Okay, so great. Let's do it. Let's
Yes.
build a strategy for the agency. So if
Yes.
you ask me, my first suggestion would be, okay, let's build a list of companies that match your ideal kind of this ICP basically, so that that the profile of the companies that matches like your the target of the accounts that you would like to let's say win over. So we will just be basically creating this list together, and the next thing would be segmentation, right? So for example, you said there are certain industries, for example, that are more interesting for you and so on. So when we do the segmentation, the next step would be also trying to understand the audiences. Whom are we going to reach out? Decision makers, influencers, end users. Like, so we will just kind of define that clearly, and why we would be doing this, because the next step is to see actually what kind of communication we are going to map, I would say. Because tailoring the communication to the pain point of this different let's say segments is essential. So let's say in industry A, the pain point might be different that you are solving than in industry B, let's say, or different, let's say, or, like the profiles might have different pain points. So then when we have this segmentation in place, and then understand actually what kind of content we do have already that we could promote, I would say trying just to recycle maybe existing I would say content, and then if we have these segmentations, we would just simply upload that to LinkedIn, for example, and then just push the campaigns live. So that would be also depending, as I said, let's say in terms of the content, it will be where they stand in the funnel. Let's say if you think that there has been no engagement with your company or your product in the past, we will just start pushing them, showing, let's say, more, let's say, valuable, educative content before pushing it, selling it more hard, that they just kind of just get your services. Just educate them, show how your company is solving their pain points. That's thanks to the tailored communication. And in terms of like the formats, I would say here we can be flexible and creative. You know, if we have a list of companies that have the highest value, we can try more individual personalized. We can go this, let's say, this messenger ads, for example, that we could just kind of these emails, let's say the old school way of sponsored emails. Let's say maybe this kind of there is of this conversation ads as well. So that would be kind of already like, it can be video communication, it can be static banner in the test. Yeah, basically that could be kind of the first step, and then understanding actually how the campaigns are performing. You know, that's kind of the second stage.
Here comes a question. We have actually tested a simple connecting through an account, a decision maker, like a C-level executive on LinkedIn, on a personal basis. Let's say our decision maker and their decision maker just have a connection on LinkedIn. They just start off with a private conversation, nothing pushy, nothing converting, and then you are sending out some as you mentioned, like educational materials, and gradually you build trust, let's say over 1 month or 1.5 months, and then you make a call, like try to convert or offer a call or offer a virtual coffee whatsoever, and versus to that, just a campaign, as you mentioned, a paid campaign, a paid email ads. And we have discovered that the first one is working much, much better than the second. So how to do with this, like especially when LinkedIn ads is so expensive?
Yeah, I mean, if you want scale, doing this individual one-on-one reaching out, it's
Possible.
difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then you are trying just to be precise, but at scale. So then the campaigns are coming in. So that's basically, if you are going to reach out maybe 10, 15, or 20 let's say companies, maybe it just makes sense just to craft the let's say communication and then just reach out to them individually. It makes sense. But if we are talking about 200-300 companies and you need to scale, you need to grow, then obviously it's more challenging. So
Yeah,
that's
you
kind of
definitely.
that you have to go for the campaigns. And I think also the job of the marketer is in a way also to make the targeting precise, and then again the ABM helps in a way, just you have filter out irrelevant companies because that's the list. Or just if you are just going with a profile targeting, let's assume you don't have the company list, yeah, or maybe you are in the process of getting the company list, but you need to get going. So just having this targeting, the laser targeting, which LinkedIn offers. I think one thing that we need to look when we are evaluating these platforms, yeah, LinkedIn is expensive, but when you look down the funnel, it might not be always the case, but this is how I would recommend looking into the performance. So basically, when you look into the funnel, there are different stages, right? So there is like the conversions, CPL, cost per lead, LinkedIn might be 50, 60 euro, Facebook might be, let's say, 20 euro. But then there is also lead to marketing qualified lead. Then there is opportunity. So when you look into the conversion rate, and then at the end, when you calculate the customer acquisition costs, at the end, it might turn out that yes, LinkedIn most expensive, but at the end of the day, it captured high quality traffic that turned into customers. So when you do the math at the end, when you kind of look into, okay, this is how much I paid on LinkedIn, how many customers I do have, it's usually cheaper than when you look into Facebook, because it might generate cheaper leads, but the quality of the traffic and then how they turn into opportunities in the actual customers at the end might decline. So when you put down the funnel and then do the math there, it might turn out that actually no, Facebook is not more efficient because the traffic quality is poor, and it's worth investing into LinkedIn, even though CPC might be 30, 40 euro, but at the end of the day, it converted. So I think it's my recommendation is not to be afraid of immediately,
Investing heavily.
CPL, but just look down the funnel and then talk to your sales team to understand actually what's the quality, I would say, of the traffic, and then just do the math later, I would say.
And what educational materials work best on LinkedIn?
I think different formats. I would say that also really important to experiment with different formats. As I said, white papers. It can be, if you have some case studies with one of your clients, that's also excellent. A little bit more time consuming. Let's say templates or trends, like talking about the trends, content which is tailored. Let's say you are talking to HR, let's say profiles, then maybe something which is relevant for them. 2-3 pagers or 1A format could be also absolutely. It's mostly about the I would say the value it brings, but it can be also, for example, webinar. It could be also even a podcast. So I'd say I wouldn't say there is no need to be limited. I would say in here, just trying to what your resources are. I would say just definitely give it a try too.
Okay.
Those
We have just a few minutes left, so let me be quick on the last couple of questions. So to sum up, we have discussed Google Ads, Facebook Ads, and LinkedIn Ads. What is your favorite choice? What is your go-to place?
LinkedIn, definitely. It's in terms of strategy and then the results, I do see LinkedIn. My personal platform that I love is Google Ads. So because it gives you data, it's easy to analyze, it's easy to understand, troubleshoot, and explain. I would say what caused what. It's challenging with LinkedIn, but the targeting is extremely valuable for us.
Yeah, laser focus. And how do you measure performance of B2B marketing campaigns? What is your couple of metrics, just the the most important ones?
Yeah, MQLs, definitely not just only leads, not conversions, like marketing qualified or sales qualified leads. It depends how companies are kind of building their, I would say, the qualification. And as well as at the end of the day, if the leads don't turn into customers, it's like the value of your marketing activities is, I would say, zero. So just definitely looking into, I would say, lead to, I think, customer, I would say the conversion rate and customer acquisition costs, definitely something that you need to look into. While you are doing your ABM, I think it's not important not to freak out when you don't see any direct CPLs or like conversions and so on. What's really important when you are focusing on an ABM is just to look into the engagement. I would say that's what really matters. Like so engaging with your content and the communication that you're putting out there.
Okay, and could you please bring us some examples, real life examples of best campaigns, maybe brands names?
Brands, I think when you are observing, there are more and more excellent, I would say, campaigns that are being executed. Probably my all-time favorite is Monday.com. It's the project management tool. I think it's very similar to Asana or Trello, if this will ring a bell in the audience. So what I absolutely loved was their approach of on search when you are searching to Asana and then you do see Monday.com ads. Basically, it's just alternative to, let's say, Asana. And I absolutely loved how they created tailored landing pages, doing a comparison, like their product versus the competition. And I absolutely loved that. It was very well executed. They had to create all these tailored landing pages for each product, and they were absolutely nailing it. So I think all the communication and the execution was done really well. So I have done some deep dive into their strategy on search and what their approach was. It was very well planned in terms of how they were pairing the keyword, the ad, and the landing pages. So I'm curious to know how it performed at the end, but the execution was.
Well, I'm sure it did well because I remember. Well, we with the team, I promise. I remember we used Monday. It was August of 2021 when one of our clients was using Monday, and they just invited us with a link to to the project, to work on the project together. And we are using still Asana. We haven't changed this so far, but I remember it was really easy. Like when we were using with a client together on one project, it was really easy. We loved the techniques, the functions of it. So I think it performs well. Though I'm fond of Asana, I must
Yeah, I'm
say.
also Asana ambassador, so I'm just
Yeah.
like converted. I'm converted Asana.
Yeah, right. Well, we have tried so many things. I bet most of the startups have checked all of them, all of the different tools. Once we were using Trello, and then we moved gradually to Asana, and right now we are actually using also Airtable for content planning. So Airtable is really cool. The next question is about SaaS. I know we have promised our audience to be laser focused on SaaS companies when talking about B2B performance marketing. Please tell us some tips on what to incorporate in their strategies.
Yeah, content is key. I would say that's kind of really essential to pay attention. I would say to the content, what you are communicating. Trying to leverage on competitor keywords, I would say, as I mentioned, the Monday combo's doing an excellent job there. Just basically target your competitors and have ideally a comparison landing pages is a trick that it's I would say very effective. I would say, especially imagine that you are entering just a market and there are already competitors. There is a limited search volume you can kind of leverage on targeting, let's say, on competitors. Could be expensive, but with great landing page, as with Monday.com, you might be successful. Building communities is something also a new trend. I would say just organic around your just. Becoming the thought leader and just bringing together, let's say, like your target audience. In LinkedIn has this excellent. Also, even in Facebook, you can create a group and just build a communities, or in Slack. I would say podcasts and webinars are really valuable tools for SaaS in B2B. Yeah, I would say it's just, kind of, if I can summarize it, say some tips when it comes to B2B. And as I said, if you have the ideal, like the target audience list, and just explore a little bit more of the ABM and how it works, there are lots of materials out there. It will definitely improve the efficiency, like, of your investment, and what you get out of it, I would say.
Well, the last question, but not least, is let's say someone following us right now and listening to us wants to become a performance marketing manager like you. What skills are important? What knowledge is critical to have, and where to invest their time?
Yeah. Most of the time, I think there are two things that I'm personally busy with. It's just working with data and then planning. So, like being comfortable with the data, it's not only about being able to analyze the read and understand the data, but it also being able to plan next steps based on your learnings, and as well as being able to present, let's say, to decision makers, or I don't know, to their teammates. So I would say being comfortable with the data, it's really essential. You don't need to be a mathematician. I'm not. So I would say many people are like, oh, I have not been so great in math. No, it's kind of the metrics. You just really need to get into it. You just understand how things work, but the data, so being comfortable working with data. And there are also lots of tools. So you need to be feeling comfortable. So it just can't get technical because platforms, and on top of that, you use lots of artificial intelligence tools to support. I would say these AI tools, and there's lots of technology. So someone who is willing to learn, is flexible, and is not overwhelmed, I would say, with constantly learning something new, being able to implement these technologies is essential. And communication, because it's important to present your results, it's important to present your ideas, your strategies, convince and communicate. I would say you might do a great campaigns, but if you don't communicate, it could be challenging. So I would say definitely just presentation and communication skills. Yeah, I would say just probably those those three. And just like if you enjoy it, I'm pretty sure you will nail it.
Well, I think all that you have mentioned is applicable to just, a digital marketing expert overall. I highly doubt someone who is not keen on learning and, discovering new stuff can stay in this field for too long. It's definitely challenging to keep up with with the pace and of how much everything is changing right now. For example, we have to incorporate Restream as a tool to be able to do webinar on LinkedIn, but just in a couple of months LinkedIn has come up with a tool, for example, to bring on together like two different users on a live without the need to use a third party here. So knowing all the nuances of content, from content marketing to performance marketing, is really crucial. So the last thing I have actually forgotten to mention during the whole webinar, but I really want to discuss this with you, is whether it is actually possible to decrease on the expenditure on LinkedIn ads by using third-party tools.
Oh, I'm not sure about that.
Okay. Why so? Yes.
I don't know. I just don't have like the experience, I would say positive experience with
them.
that. Yeah. As I said, I always like looking into down the funnel in terms of costs rather than I would just like look into it like more also holistically. Let's say if you are running a couple of channels, like just look into, I would say, the overall results rather just than kind of the average, I would say, CPL or cost per MQL or like customer acquisition cost rather than isolating only one channel. So
we have had both positive and negative experience with third-party tools. There one comes to my mind. It's called Meet Alfred. Have you heard about it?
No.
It's actually a great tool in terms of like using Sales Navigator and this tool and bringing on to and building audience where the audience that you have found on Sales Navigator and bringing it on board on the third party and doing all these outreaches automatically without having to do it manually. But in the end, we have witnessed so many difficulties with LinkedIn because it actually turns out LinkedIn bans usage of third parties and can actually terminate you as a user or your company's page on LinkedIn if you kind of use them. Is it true for all third parties or?
Like for example, metadata.io is something that you can have integrated not only LinkedIn but all other channels, and it just kind of automates the processes. It's a great tool if you have the budget because it's also quite costly. There's a minimum spend and service fees. With metadata.io, you can have this possibility. It doesn't necessarily promise you that the traffic will be cheaper, but it just gives you more sophisticated targeting possibilities. Just an example, like with metadata.io, for example, you can reach B2B companies using metadata firmographic audience and target on Facebook. Similarly, also to like on LinkedIn. But again, there is no promise about like that it's going to be cheaper. It's more about like the target audience is basically what matters in this case. Like let's say if you are struggling to reach B2B customers on Facebook, like technically with metadata integration, you set up the campaigns on metadata, it publishes on Facebook, for example, on LinkedIn, on Quora, and so on. And technically you are leveraging additional B2B audiences. So in this case, it's good to experiment if you have the budget, and especially experiment to find the audiences, the right audiences. Let's say it's excellent. You have B2B audiences and you bring them on Facebook. Yeah, like looks like challenge problem solved. But yeah, there is, I would say, no promise about like the success, because it comes down to the content, your landing page, or your communication, your investment, and like the different factors, your brand awareness, and the competition in the market. So it's really challenging, I would say, to kind of give a certain answer, I would say, to that question. I personally haven't seen any value in terms of efficiencies, but more being able to reach to more relevant audiences, yes, and have it all into one platform and automated. There are solutions which is worth trying if you are trying to scale up as a business. So.
Okay, sounds good to me. And in the end, please tell us what the small businesses who just don't have the budget for LinkedIn yet if they are in the B2B sector, can do right now.
Trying to grow organically is also a possibility. Let's say, we talked about, let's say, the communities, being able to build the communities or host online events, or let's say the webinars, and just try to record, let's say, some interest podcasts and kind of share, I would say, the content with the target audience. It's absolutely also possible. So just being active where your target audience is, and just trying to build the communities, I would say, online. It's again possible, absolutely possible, but it's slower. I would say, when you don't have the budget, it just takes time, but it's not impossible. And in fact, even if you do paid, you need to build also your organic presence, I would say, simultaneously. So yeah, I would say for me that recommendation would be just like try to grow it organically. There are like different methods, like the Google we mentioned, or just leverage them. There are Slack groups for different kind of solutions, like LinkedIn, Facebook groups. So just there, and yeah.
Yeah, thanks for the answer. In fact, I totally agree. Organic growth and content marketing is something that you anyhow have to do it, whether you have a budget for paid advertising or not. So yeah, why not to start from there? And at least to our audience, I would recommend to take at least 6 months time, and don't be hard on yourself if you don't see any results. 6 months is the minimum of brand building. So take your time. And thank you, Lusine, for all the elaborate answers to my questions. It was a pleasure. I personally learned a lot from you. I have made my notes on a couple of things that we ourselves should definitely look into. So thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I hope I didn't give headache to people. So I just it can be a lot. So, but if you have questions, or anyone has questions to get more specific and to kind of help with any use cases, I'm always happy to, I would say, consult and also learn from others. Absolutely, because that's also part of our job.
Yes, definitely. So if anyone who is, right now watching us and has any questions, I'm just checking right now. We don't have any questions in the comment section. So if they have afterwards, because some people are just rushing to celebrate the Friday evening, and so it's okay. We'll take our time. Just when you watch this, just leave your comments, and we'll come back to it and do our best to answer them.
Or reach out to us. We will be happy to help you if you have questions.
Yeah. So it was my pleasure, Lusine. Thank you for your time and your patience. We definitely have to repeat this over, after some time, but on some other topic, not to repeat ourselves.
Can get more specific next time on a different topic. Sounds good, Susanna. Thank you very much. Have a lovely Friday evening and weekend.
Yeah, you too. You too. And we'll keep in touch.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.